welcome to the channel, the Nikon D850. So it turned up, I did an unboxing of it, and I've now spent probably about 3-4 hours playing around with this and just seeing how it differs from the D800. Now the D800 is what I had, I've upgraded. I didn't have the D810. So there's been quite a few differences. Now I'm not going to be able to talk about the differences between the 810 and the 850 as I don't have one of those. What I'm going to do is just talk about what I found that's different from the D800 if you're thinking of upgrading from there. So one thing I mentioned in my unboxing that one thing I didn't like about when using this in the studio was the USB connection that goes into here. So Nikon have done a fairly good job of upgrading this, as in that the little clip that holds this in is a lot better. It's screwed in now, whereas before it was kind of just like a clip in, and they've moved, and that's I think essentially why they've moved the position of where the mic and the headphones was, because the headphone jack on the D800 was down here, so they've moved those up out the way. So this has now got a nice little bracket, so that holds in there really nice and tight. So you know, if this is kind of yanked and pulled, you're not going to damage that very sort of precious connection that you've got in there. So kudos for Nikon for doing that. It's a little bit of a fiddle in the faff to trying to get it on there. You kind of have to put the USB in first and then screw this in afterwards, but it's definitely a big fast improvement. So that's one big plus point, along with lots of other things. So the buttons have moved round, and some people have put on the internet that, you know, that they don't like the way they keep moving the buttons around. I kind of agree with some people that they're saying between the D5 and the D850 and those, the buttons kind of should always be in the same place, because some people who've professional photographers are going to have multiple cameras, and they'll have different cameras for different things. They'll pick up one camera, get used to the buttons in one place, and yeah, so that's a bit of a bugbear. I like the fact that the ISO button has moved over this side now, because I was sometimes you will set the aperture on this, so I like to do lots of my shots fixed at aperture, and you were sort of looking through, and you kind of have to just mess around with the ISO setting a lot, and I was always sort of coming back off here to find the ISO button over here, whereas now it's this right next to the trigger button, so you know it's there. And what they've also done as well, the exposure value up there as well, that button has been smoothed down, so you have to kind of get your finger really pressed into, so you don't accidentally roll the exposure up and down, and it means that your finger comes across to the trigger a lot easier than it was on the 800. I'm not sure if that was the same on the 810, but I'm just comparing it to the 800. So I like that. I like the fact they've moved that button there. Yeah, so, and they've moved some of these dials around as well. So I'm just going to have to get used to that. There are a few extra function buttons and things on here as well, which weren't on the 800, which is nice because you've always got that extra added, putting the function buttons on. The focus buttons in the same place. So majority of it's pretty much the same. They've just moved a few buttons around. The grip is different. It's a lighter body. It feels a lighter body than the 800. Right. So, and when you switch this on and you take a snap with it, even when it's not in silent mode. Now, when I put it into silent mode, it's just unbelievable. I took probably about 30 photographs without even realising I'd taken a photograph. I kept saying, well, why is it not taking a photograph? I don't know, I suppose because you want it in silent mode, you don't want anything to sort of come up. I don't know whether it, I might get it so it does the screen preview shot. I don't normally have that set up, so I normally just take a picture and away it goes. But I might set it so it screen previews when it's in silent mode, just confirm you've taken a shot, because there is absolutely no noise whatsoever. But even normally, I don't know if we can, let's take the lens off and get it to focus on something. I mean, that's a really quiet sound anyway. I'd say compared to the 800, that's kind of almost half the sound, even just in normal mode. It's a really quiet sort of shutter mechanism. Brilliant autofocus, and the focusing system on this is just outstanding. It really is amazing. It's a lot quicker than the D800. You will not be let down in any way. I've taken quite a few shots messing around with the ISO settings, and it is better on the ISO. There's less noise on there, even though it's got more megapixels, but it's not. I wouldn't say you would get this camera because the ISO rating is that much higher. I wouldn't look at it and say, yeah, those images are way better. The noise is, it's better, but it's not significantly better. I think where this is really winning out is, yeah, it's got some more megapixels to push around, but it's all the functions and the features of this. The flip out screen, so you can do your low shots as well. So you're not having to buy like the periscope cameras for doing shots like that. I still like bringing it up to my eye, but I think I'm going to get used to using this more. The live view mode on this is way infinitely better than the D800. I hated it. I never used the live mode view because it was just so slow and it didn't really add a lot to it. The fact that this is touchscreen and all the different information settings that you can get on here is just absolutely fantastic. If you press the I button there, there is also a menu that goes in here. So you've got the peaking mode. So if it's in manual, you can have that sort of peaking mode. I'm not sure if that was on the it wasn't on the 810, I don't believe, but that's fantastic. That really is nice that you can kind of see where that is. And there's just like loads of other features on here which I've just really touching the surface of, because this is something I've not really played with before, the live view mode, because as I said, just didn't mess around with it. The fact that you can get instant feedback on the exposure, you know, just means you're getting that kind of WYSIWYG photography. Now I know a lot of professionals or sort of keen amateur photographers like, oh yeah, you know, you should know you're setting straight off the bat, and yeah, you should. You know, you should kind of rock up to a situation and kind of have a bit of an idea in your mind of roughly where you're going to be. But that live view mode is just going to give you so much more information. It just goes back to like the early days of my photography when I had I think it was a Fuji camera, and it was brilliant. It wasn't a DSLR, but I had this kind of WYSIWYG, and you could mess around with some of the settings, and it was sort of great. So it's kind of going back to that a little bit, but it kind of gives you then the option of everything, of going for more the mirrorless cameras and to like the professional DSLR. So it kind of suits everybody. So if you don't like that, that's fine, don't use it. If you do like it, then great, it's got it. So yeah, I can't wait to sort of really start delving into that. The fact that you can take pictures just by tapping the screen as well is fantastic. The Wi-Fi and Bluetooth has worked absolutely fantastic. When I set this up, set it up on, paired it to my phone instantly, which is what I'm recording on at the moment. I'd like to have done a 4K video, but I wanted to show you this, so I'm recording on my phone at the moment. Synced it straight up. I heard a lot of negativity about SnapBridge not working in the past, and I've heard that it's really buggy, it's got really poor reviews, but it instantly connected. It was fine. I can't imagine I'm going to use it a great deal for the photography that I do. You can use it as a remote trigger, which is a really cool feature. If you're not carrying around a remote trigger with you, and you want that feature, then you can do that. The fact that you bring the pictures onto your phone, that screen is an amazing screen, and your phone screens aren't, a great deal bigger. The quality of the screen over the 800 is fantastic. So I can't see me using that sort of feature either. But it is, it is nice. It's nice that you can do that if you want to, and you have got that trigger, and it seemed to work absolutely fine for me. The one thing that I did find that was interesting, everybody when they initially announced the 850 coming out, they were sort of saying, it hasn't got GPS for the people who want to do sort of landscape photography and sort of outdoor and wildlife and whatever. It hasn't got that. But if you do pair it to your phone, it does get that information straight from your phone, and it puts it straight onto the image. So you're not having to put it back into the metadata. It just instantly puts it on there, which is it's fantastic. So maybe that's why they didn't bother putting it in. It's a bit of extra cost, a bit of extra tech, battery, I don't know, whatever. The fact that most people have a smartphone that they're going to pair it to anyway, you know, that kind of negates having to have that in the camera. So that's that kind of resolved that that issue. What else is there that I found on here? The previews of photographs that are taken. Oh, there we go. You can see, you might be able to see hopefully on there. There's some GPS information that I got for there. That's a kitchen. Oh, by the way, the battery. This is the one out of my D800, or even though it's a 7 volt, not 7.4 volt, it works absolutely fine. So you can swap your batteries around. That's not an issue at all. This is the card. These are the images that I took with the D800, and plugged it in here. It works absolutely fine. It's nice the fact that you've got this zooming in and out feature. You know, the pinch and push thing. And you can zoom straight into an image and you can scroll around. I mean, that's fantastic. You've got that sort of feature. When I was kind of using this though, I did still find it was kind of getting a bit cumbersome with your fingers in the way. Hang on a second. You know, sort of reviewing the shots, and I found that I wanted to get back to the buttons again. So maybe we'll do a combination, because the zooming in and out just seemed a bit easier with the buttons to zoom in and out. I think if you that was it. If you double press on that center button there, I think that takes you into 100% zoom, which it'll be nice if you could choose where it zoomed into. There's one sort of pet peeve that I had the Nikons when you did sort of preview these, it didn't tell you where the 100% mark was. So on the Canons, when you zoomed in, it only zoomed into 100%, and with the Nikons, when the D800, it used to zoom in past 100%. So you were never really 100% sure whether it was fully in focus or not, because it was, you zoom all the way in and then you had to back up 3 clicks on the D800, and that was 100%. I kind of like had to figure that out from the screen and then looking on here. With this, I hope that we've got that when you double press that, that's taken it into 100%. It doesn't tell you that, but I'm going to have a mess around with that and see if that is the case. And if so, that's really good. The tilty pulley out thing, I mean, that's great. The pulley out thing, the screen. And you can do those low level sort of shots, and also high level shots as well. So looking up there, which is really nice to be able to do that. I think most people, is going to be a lot more where it's down here. For video shooting as well as photography, but the low angle of incidence, the amount of times that you're sort of down there, and I think the more you kind of get used to the live view, that's going to become you know, an invaluable little addition to this camera. So okay, so that was my initial kind of thoughts and like the changes and the differences. Image quality on it is outstanding. They've got rid of that horrible kind of magenta-y hue that you get over everything. It seems to be a really nice neutral colour. If you just look at samples that are put up on the internet, you'll see that as comparisons, and that's probably the fact that they've changed the sensor manufacturer, so it's you know, it's a different manufacturer altogether. So I haven't messed around with any of the video. As I play with this more, I find out more features. I'll do update videos and maybe like little how-tos. I did struggle. I was trying to mess around with we're trying to find the peaking. That wasn't instantly sort of easily to find out. So you are going to want that manual, the one that everybody says we just throw these away and then just start messing around. So. What else was there? The other thing that I wanted to do was the focus stacking, and I've put it into the modes that I've like kind of followed it through on the manual, and I found that in the menu it's still greyed out. So I'm going to mess around with that a little bit more, and then when I found out how, you know, what was stopping it, what was making it greyed out, some of the functions are not available in RAW. You've got to be in JPEG only. You know, those sorts of things. High dynamic range, you've got to be in TIFF or in JPEG. You can't do that in RAW. So you know, there's little, you know, you've got to change some of these things in the different modes. The focus stacking, I haven't figured that out yet, so I'll mess around with that in the next day or two. But this is an amazing upgrade from a D800, probably from the D810 as well. So if you are thinking, if you know, on the fence a little bit, I can thoroughly recommend upgrading to this, because the amount of features that are on here just make it an outstanding camera. So okay, if you found this video useful or you've liked it at all, then give me a thumbs up, it helps me out greatly. And if you want to see any of the other videos I'm going to do about this or anything else on my channel, then subscribe, you know, all of that. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Rob. See you next time. Bye.